Longevity is the buzzword in town, and everybody is talking about it. On today's podcast, I have Prashant Desai with me, who calls himself a longevity biohacker. He has been sharing a lot of information around how to stay fit and healthy following basic nutrition and exercising protocols. Today, we are going to go deeper into longevity, what it really means, and what are the things that you can adapt today to make sure that you are living a healthier, longer life. Yeah, I mean, advice is if you want, you can actually listen to the whole podcast at 1.2 or 1.5 speed, but do listen to it. There's a lot of good information around here. Let's get into the podcast now. Thanks, Prashant, for joining me on the podcast today. Really appreciate your time. And I know I have been chasing you for a month now. So thank you so much for taking the time out today.
No, no, completely my privilege. My apologies that you had to chase me because I was traveling a bit, but I am so glad to be here. So glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure because the topic that we are going to discuss today is something of my interest. So I really am looking forward to this. So first, I would like to know a bit more about yourself, like what you're doing and how you got into all this longevity biohacking.
So, yeah, otherwise, I'm a finance professional. I've spent almost 30 years of my life in financial markets. But there is a personal story to this in the sense that I lost my father when I was 7 years old. And there is a lot of pain associated with not having my father around. And deep down somewhere, there was always the thought that I want to live longer for my daughters. Uh, I always knew I wanted to live longer, but I never knew how. And it's during COVID and the time post COVID is where I began to kind of get into deeper and deeper into understanding why we humans age at a cellular level. How can we defeat death? And how can we live longer? But more importantly, how can we live longer and healthier? And it all started with Novak Djokovic. He during COVID started a Insta session called the Life Mastery, where he would get guests, and one of them happened to be Peter Diamandis. From him, I first time heard the word called longevity, and for the first time, somebody actually framed or coined the word what I was looking for. How do I say I want to live longer? And that's where I kind of got introduced to the term longevity. And then he kind of spoke something very interesting that longevity is malleable because till that point of time, having grown up in an Indian cultural environment, I'm a Jain. Come from a religious family. I am not religious, but come from a religious family where we were always taught to make peace with death. And I was always told that there is a reason why my father left early. Probably God takes away good people early in life. Also, the fact that death is destiny. Also, the fact that we all come with a certified number of years that we will spend, so on and so forth. And that narrative somewhere never kind of resonated with me. And hence, I was always looking for those answers. And it is through Novak's life that I got to meet Peter Diamandis. And then I started spending a lot more time understanding this at a much more science level, biological level. I visited US very often, attended longevity seminars, spent time with some of the leading gerontologists, understanding the aspect of this. And then, I've started implementing a lot of these things and have also benefited from them. That's where my interest kind of got into it. And it's like a rabbit hole. Once you are passionate about something and you kind of get your answers, you keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And as I say, I'm still 4 or 5 years into the subject. I still have another 20, 30 years to go. But that's the backstory to my personal interest coming from the world of finance to then getting into the world of biology or biohacking, as you call it.
Got it. So after these many years of studying it, can you give me a very simple and short definition of longevity, like maybe a one or a two liner?
Let's let's make it in the form of a maths, right? Longevity is basically lifespan plus health span. It's as simple as that. Lifespan is the number of years. How can you increase the number of years? Health span is within that number of years, how do you increase your vitality? Uh, and interesting, if you reflect back at the last 100, 150 years, mankind has done remarkably well in terms of increasing the lifespan. So if you go back about 100 years, maybe our grandparents, they were living about 40 years. That was their life expectancy. Most of the deaths at that point of time were maybe because of either an infection and they would die, either it would be an injury, they would die, or it would be because of poison. Because those were times when there were a lot of, attacks on each other in terms of armed attacks and all of that. As a result of these were some of the major causes of death. And if you look back, we've done remarkably well. That today, if you look at the average life expectancy from 40 years in India, it has gone up to about 70 years. If you go to US, it's about 78 years. If you go to Singapore, which is number one in the world, or Hong Kong, they are at about 85 years. So if you look at it from a longevity standpoint, on the lifespan side, we have done well. We have added almost 2x the number of years to our life. But when you look at the other part of it, which is health span, unfortunately, we have a very, very little to show off. And I did a very interesting mathematical evaluation coming from the world of finance. And this data are a lot more available for US than it's available for us in India. But if you take out all the death in the last 50, 60 years, which have happened from infections, which have happened from injuries, and if you normalize this, then our lifespan has not increased. So all the increase in lifespan has only happened because Alexander Fleming went and invented penicillin, because of which we got antibiotics. We realized that we need to keep our homes more clean, sanitized, and swatch. As a result of this, lifespan increased. But if I normalize it for that, our lifespan is not increased. And that is when you move into the second aspect of it, which is health span. And why has that not increased? Despite doubling of lifespan, our health span has actually come down. The quality of life has come down. If lifespan is quantity, health span is quality. So if you look at the number of diabetics that we have today, if you look at the number of obese people, if you look at the number of people dying from heart attacks, from stroke, from cancer, all that has only gone up and up and up. And as a result of this, when you now look at longevity as this simple mathematical equation, mankind has very little show for, because quantity has increased, quality has gone down. So that's in short a definition of where longevity kind of fits in. One of the mistakes a lot of people make is when they look at longevity, they only think from a quantitative standpoint. And whereas when you look at me and where my focus comes from, I have completely pivoted from quantity to quality. My focus is only health span. Because very interestingly, if you increase your health span, lifestyle automatically increase. Very difficult to actually find a dead person who has no diabetes, no obesity, no heart ailment, no cancer. He's going to live longer, right? So the attempt is, can you increase your health span? Because if you are able to do this, your lifespan will automatically increase.
Yeah, totally agree to that. So, looking at that, so if I can just simplify this and correct me if I'm wrong, that we want to live longer and healthier. It's not just having a long life if you are on thousands of medications. It's rather pushing those medications and the diseases away as long as we can, and living a more healthier life, in
And there is a
holistically,
scientific
right?
definition to that as well, Priyanka.
Okay.
When they talk of health span, it is broken into three parameters.
Hmm.
They say physical health, cognition, which is your brain health, and number three is emotional health. It's very well defined. What does health span mean? It means living longer with all the physical movement that you can preserve, with cognition, and number three, emotional health, which means being happy.
Yeah, actually, I was just coming at that point that so in terms of, let's say, if I want to work towards it, right? First, I need to define it. And like you are saying that there are three major verticals. So, in terms of the physical health, cognitive health, and the emotional health, right? So, I would like to kind of break these three down, and understand that what are the different, actions that we need to take to kind of achieve in, like, excel in all these three areas, right? So, I think the physical health is probably the simplest one to start off with. So how do you say that, okay, physically I have to be healthy? Because even I have a question for you, like, this is a personal question. Like, some people say that I can walk, and that calls it, like a definition of healthy, right? So physical health has a very different connotation for everybody. Now, how do we define it? Could be subjective, but is there a standard definition in terms of longevity, that what does the physical health actually mean?
So let's put it differently. How do we measure longevity? And I think we need a starting point, because if we have a starting point, then we know from here where can we go. Otherwise, we are more like a feather blowing in the wind, right? And there are three, four ways to look at how old you are. And I always talk about that we all have two ages. One, what I call as the chronological age that you see on your passport or your Aadhaar card. This is the number of years you've spent on mother life. We also have another age, which I call as the true age or our biological age or our
Yes.
inner age. This is how we are aging from within. And, it doesn't matter what your chronological age is, your biological age is what is most critical. And, I recently was at a family wedding, and it was very interesting. And you may have been to a school reunion, anything, and you will suddenly notice that 5, 6 bunch of friends or family member, all looking similar, all of similar age, but looking very different. Somebody will probably give you an impression that he is aging faster. Somebody will give you an impression he is aging a lot more younger, which gives you an impression that their biological age either is higher than their chronological age or probably lower than their chronological age. Best guess, I think, is look at the mirror. The famous mirror, mirror on the wall, but this time who's not the fairest of all? Who's the youngest of all? Your mirror tells you a lot. You look at yourself at the mirror and you will get a sense. Are you looking 50? I'm 52. Am I looking 52 or not? There is a sixth sense we all know whether we are looking our age or not, or whether we are feeling our age. So that's one way to kind of measure. Science has also figured out scientific ways to measure what your biological age is. The most popular globally is a metric called DNA methylation test. Methyl clocks were invented by Stephen Howard, where they go and they take their saliva, they'll take your saliva, they'll take your blood, and through that, within the cells, they can go and understand what is the damage that has happened to your DNA. So there are methyl tags which allow us to read which genes are on and off. And they can now go and see the damage in that methyl tags. It's called the DNA methylation test. Through that, they can kind of tell you what your biological age is. That is something that you do. Uh, Elizabeth Byrne won a Nobel Prize for figure out figuring out one more biomarker for aging called telomeres. And every time our cells multiply, the telomeres, which is the end of our chromosome, which is like the shoelace end, they get a little shortened. Now, depending on how much DNA damage we have done, the shortening gets either accelerated or slowed down. Today, they developed a test which you can go and measure your telomeres, and by your telomeres length, they can tell you whether what your biological age is. So that's a scientific way to measure. Not very expensive. Expensive, yes. It will cost you $150 to get this measured in the US. That's a scientific way to look at it. Second, you can also look at a lot of your blood work to give you a sense. Okay. So let's look at 3, 4 parameters. If your fasting blood glucose is, say, more than 100 or 105, it tells you that biologically you are aging faster. It doesn't tell you your biological age, but tells you you are fasting. You are aging faster. Your blood pressure, your systolic blood pressure, if it is more than 130, it's a biomarker for aging. It will tell you. If your triglyceride levels are more than 160, it is a biomarker for aging. If your HDL cholesterol is less than 60, it's a biomarker of aging. If your LDL cholesterol is more than 160, it is a biomarker for aging. So you can look at a set of blood parameters to know what's happening internally, right? If your fasting blood glucose is, say, 120 or 130 or 140, which in scientific terms you are pre-diabetic, which means your body's glucose metabolism has come down. So you can measure it that way as well. Then when you look at diseases, depending on what age you are, do you have joint pains? What is your bone mineral density? Do you get a sense of osteoporosis? Chances are you are aging faster. When you look at your, CT angio, is atherosclerosis developing? Chances are you are aging
Yeah.
faster. Do you have diabetes? Chances are you are aging faster. Is your waist more than your hip? You are aging faster. So there are these set of tools. People who are, listening to our podcast, very simple. Go to Google, type something called as a frailty test.
Mm-hmm.
Will give them all these three parameters against which they have their blood reports. They can go and check, and they will know what their starting point is. So that is one way to measure. To answer now your question that you asked, we can also know this through our physical health, right? So there are two things we need to know from longevity standpoint and measuring those metrics. First is something what is called as your cardio capacity or your aerobic capacity. Now, this you can measure yourself, because what happens is all the energy that is made inside our body is made inside the cell in a place called the mitochondria.
Correct.
When you take a cyanide capsule, you die within 10 seconds. Why? Because that cyanide goes and stops mitochondria's ability to make energy and you die. So your mitochondrial health is your single biggest predictor of longevity, right? How do I measure that? The way to measure that, or the way to better that, whichever way you look at it, is to look at your aerobic capacity. So if you are somebody aged, say, 25, in my view, your mitochondria should be at a level where you can easily run 6 to 8 kilometers
Hmm.
at a normal pace,
Hmm.
right? If you are a 25-year kid who is struggling to run 6 to 8 kilometers, but can rather walk 6 to 8 kilometers, he is aging faster. At the age of 52, I should be very comfortably be able to walk 10 kilometers at a time.
Hmm.
If I can walk 10 kilometers at a time, which means my mitochondria is functioning well as per my age. If I can't even walk 10 kilometers at the age of 52, at 10 minutes a kilometer, I am aging faster internally. Uh,
Hmm.
this is defined as zone 2.
Correct.
What is your zone 2 capacity?
Yeah.
If you measure your zone 2 capacity, it also somewhere tells you your mitochondrial health. Now, great thing is you can, it's malleable, you can better it. So for somebody who's completely sedentary, if they start walking, three things will happen inside their mitochondria. So what happens is when the cells multiply, they are also multiplying the mitochondria. Dysfunctional mitochondria will be killed.
Hmm. Correct.
They will get rid of it. The body gets rid of it when you start walking. Second, it starts making more energy. So now you have put it to use. That's the second advantage. If you do this regularly, you will make more mitochondria. Your mitochondria inside your cells will multiply. Now, this is only seen in aerobic. You will not see this in gym.
Yes.
Why? Because when you are using aerobic muscle, you are using your slow twitch fibers. And slow twitch fiber are very densely populated with mitochondria. So you can use zone 2 or your ability to walk how much and determine are you aging faster or not.
Yeah.
The last metric from a physical health point, which is the best metric ever, is something called as VO2 max.
Yeah.
So right now also when you and I are talking, we are inhaling oxygen, exhaling carbon dioxide. Why are we inhaling oxygen? This oxygen plus the nutrient that we have is distributed by the blood across our body to provide all the nutrient and oxygen which is required for creation of energy. Now, your ability or the volume of oxygen that you can make determines how good you are from a health or physical health perspective. So, when we sleep, the volume of oxygen that we probably use is about 3 millimeters per kg of body weight, right? If I start walking just in the morning, when you sleep, you wake up and you go to the washroom, that 3 will come to about 10. If I then go for my morning walk for say 15 minutes, the 10 will go to about 20. If I go for a jog, 20 goes to about 30. If I go for a sprint, it goes to about 60. So this is the maximum amount of volume your muscles are being able to use.
Hmm.
This, as per studies, have been proven to be the best predictor of how long you will live. Okay. So again, our listeners can go, and your volume of oxygen capacity differs by age and it differs by your fitness levels. So anybody can Google and take out a VO2 max chart. They can plot their age, and it gives you from very fit to somebody who is completely sedentary. It's a curve.
Yeah.
You can use your age and figure out where you stand today. And it goes from sleep and goes way up to highest amount of peak capacity that you can use. Now, depending on where you stand, you will know that though you are 25, because you took so much of time to complete the walk, your VO2 max was such that you are actually 35 or you are actually 18. So if you are 35, say for example, an average lifespan in India is 69 years. That means you will live for another 34 years. Which means if you are 24, if I add 35 to this, you will die before 60. If you are 18 and our 69 is our life expectancy, then the person will live for another 51 years. He is 25. So to that 25, if I add 51, he will live till 76.
Hmm.
So it's a great predictor of longevity. There was a very interesting study done, and this was a large study done. It's called the Mandeskar study in 2018, where they tested people, and it was an observational study. So they didn't put any protocols in place. They said we will only observe people, and they took a cohort of 1 lakh people. Okay, 60% men, 40% women across age groups,
Mm-hmm.
and they followed them for a period of 8.5 years, which is technically 1 million years they followed them for. Okay. And then they looked at how many people lived, how many people died. And their only thing they wanted to predict was they wanted to predict it for all cause mortality or death. Doesn't matter how you die. Okay. And they broke this in different parameters. Somebody was completely unfit, they called them as low, to somebody who was below average, above average, fit, and then elite. So top 20%, they broke them in percentages, 0 to 20, 20 to 40, 40 to 60. Elite were only 2.5%, the top 2.5%. What was most remarkable was that if you are somebody who's below average in terms of fitness, right? And then you have somebody who's completely sedentary who doesn't even do 5 minutes of exercise. And this guy does about 30 minutes of exercise
Mm-hmm.
a week.
Mm.
That's the difference. The chances of this guy dying is 90% higher than this guy.
Whoa.
The difference between this guy sedentary and the most fit, this guy is 400% higher chances of dying in the next 12 months than this guy. And this was
Fantastic.
observational. So these are the people who died and they took the data. So in many ways, these are all very high. So if you are somebody who's even below average, from low, you choose after listening to our podcast, yeah, Prashant has made us scared. I will start walking 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. That's all. You have reduced your chances of dying by 50% by just watching Netflix to walking for 15 minutes a day. You have 50% lower chances of dying. So where I was coming from, Priyanka, is there are enough methodologies for you to know where you stand,
Yeah.
and there are protocols you can implement to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. There was lot of information in what we just talked. So just going to quickly sum it up and very precisely, I think the bio age is what you are saying that is the parameter that we should look for. And then there are many underlying metrics that actually contribute to that number. If the bio age is not available for us, which is an expensive method to figure that out,
Test.
we can look at the other blood tests which are readily available for us and see how we have been growing in the last couple of years and see how our markers are looking like as of today. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to think, and as you said that these numbers actually are astonishing, like just 30 minutes of exercise can actually change the lifespan and the health span drastically. Like this is amazing to realize, right?
So 30 minutes into 5, 6 days
Yeah.
divided
And
by 168
in
hours we have in a week.
yeah, true that. So this was about the physical health aspect of it, right? So let's move on to the cognitive health and well-being. What are the different factors again here in the similar way that we have just defined for the physical health?
So yeah, it's the same, right? The what you do at a foundational level impacts all the three elements of your health: physical, cognitive, and emotional.
Mhm.
We spoke about one aspect of exercise, which is cardio. Uh, let's look at the second aspect of exercise, which also impacts your cognitive health, which is strength training, right?
And I
Uh,
really want to establish a connection here in terms of the strength training to cognitive ability, productivity in general. So I think a lot of people think that muscle building is for bodybuilders and maybe for crazy people like us, but it actually translates to being more productive at work, because what everybody is saying, I don't have time to do strength training because I have work. And my logic is that if you do this, you'll be able to perform better. So I really
100%.
want that science to come out now. Yeah, go on.
No, no, we will. And before science, let's even give them a code. Everybody knows about the mind body connection. There is also an equally body mind connection. They say as your body moves, your mind grooves. And very simple. Unfortunate, about 3 years back, I had a friend who met with a very bad accident. The accident was so bad the right side of his skull got damaged. Guess where did he got paralytic? On the left side of the body. So there is a very clear connection. Left side of the body is connected with right side of the brain. Right side of the body is left side of the brain. Hence, as your body moves, your brain grooves. There is a direct connection established in the world of science through medicine and surgery. Number one. Second, year, why strength training is important? Because from the day we are born, we start dying. That we all know. But what we don't know is after the age of 35 and 40, our muscles begin to die. In scientific language, we call this a sarcopenia, loss of muscle mass. And not too many people know that the second biggest organ in our body is muscles. Biggest is, of course, skin.
Yeah.
What people look at muscles is very differently than the role that muscle plays. So, muscle is your biggest sink for glucose storage and disposal. People who have diabetic, if they start strength training, they will reverse diabetes. And yet the doctor says go for a walk. Doctor will never say go to the gym and lift weight. Because as you increase muscle mass, you can store more glycogen over here. You can clear your blood vessels more of the excess blood sugar. Every time you muscle, it is also an endocrine organ. It releases hormones. It releases peptides. The moment you do that, it releases a hormone called endorphins, which makes you feel, why after exercising or gymming do you feel better? Because of endorphins. These endorphins will go to your brain. It is telling your brain a message, which is why your cognition becomes a lot more sharper. Now, when you have exercised, when I go for a run, whatever calories I have burnt or whatever calories I will burn, the maximum impact of that is 2 hours. After 2 hours, the glucose loses its ability to absorb more glycogen. When it comes to muscle building, the protein synthesis from that and your ability to burn calorie remains for 48 hours. So principally, why does it impact your cognition? As my body is getting more efficient to remove more glucose from the blood, our brain only operates on one macronutrient, that is glucose. Second, of course, is ketones. We'll come to that later. But largely, it is glucose. as I am removing excess blood glucose from my blood vessels, my brain is not getting excess glucose. Why? If excess glucose goes into your brain, it starts developing something called as amyloid plaque. When those plaque develop in your heart, you get heart attack. When it develops in your brain, you get something called as dementia or Alzheimer's. Do you know Alzheimer's is now called as type 3 diabetes? And your first line of defense after medication is build muscles. We lose after the age of 40 1% of muscle mass every year, which is the quantum of muscles. But that's not all. 3 times faster we lose muscle strength after the age of 40. 8 times faster we use muscle power. It's a seriously declining slope. I'll give you another interesting statistic for people to still start thinking why they should go to the gym tomorrow. Stop watching this podcast. Go to the gym and build muscle. Building muscle doesn't mean you will bulk up. It takes a lot of time to bulk up. All we are trying to do is prevent the decline. After the age of 65, if you are a woman and if you have a fall and you break your femur or you break your hip bone, you have a 70% chance of dying in the next 12 months. The only way to prevent this is by having strong grip strength. Because when you are falling, you will use your grip. You are walking down the stair. If you are falling, you want something to hold. If your grip strength is not strong, you can't hold. The only way to do that is to build muscle, especially Priyanka for women.
Yeah.
Osteoporosis is found disproportionately in women than in men. Women lose a lot more bone mineral density than men. Only way to prevent this is by building muscle. Women get more Alzheimer's than men. And when you double click in each one of this, it has to do with the fact glucose. It has to do with the fact that because you do not have enough storage capacity, because your reservoir is not bigger, excess blood glucose is circulating in the pipes, which is going to the brain. So your building strength is very, and what happens is when you remove this and your brain gets the kind of oxygen and the kind of blood glucose it needs, automatically your prefrontal cortex is getting cleared of everything else. So obviously after your exercise, your focus will be higher, your attention will be higher. You're also feeling great because endorphins are there. You've also experienced a rush of dopamine. Obviously your focus attention will be there. Compare two individuals, one who exercises, one who doesn't exercise. The guy who doesn't exercise will need support of sugar. He will keep popping a biscuit or something to work. The guy who's exercising doesn't need anything. Give him water, black coffee is good, or black tea.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So I think it is sounding scary, and it is scary, honestly. So I have a live example in my family. So my mother was diagnosed with arthritis 20 years ago. And I really don't know, because I was too young to even know what's happening. And doctors just told her that you have got this, and then it will just start getting worse. And somehow it was put in her brain that, it has started with your knee, but now it will start going to grow to other joints as well. And it did eventually. Now, long story short, but I have recently, like I think 6 months back, I wanted her to go to gym to do more serious strength training regime now, because her condition has worsened a lot. Within a few months, she is seeing significant changes in terms of the way she is able to walk now. Obviously, muscles don't come so fast. But I am so
Of
glad
course.
to see her doing leg press and, lat pull downs in the gym, that it just makes me so happy. And people ask me at 40, 45, I have never done strength training. Can I still do it? I said, my mother is doing it at 67. So please don't tell me that you are old. So I have seen it. Earlier, I also thought that it will take a lot of time for her to bounce back. I'm not saying that she's completely recovered. No magic is happening here. But I'm just saying that if at that age it can make a difference and show you results in a couple of months, think about it. If you start today in your 30s, in your 40s, how much is it is going to affect you, how you live your 50s and 60s. So
One
yeah.
study, the study I read, I think it was a study in Japan, where they took old people at the age of 93. Each one of them was 93 years of old, 93 years old, and they made them do strength training
Mm-hmm.
for a period of 12 weeks, 3 months. The improvement in muscle strength, lowest was 30%, highest was 170%. 12 weeks,
Yeah.
93 years of age.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here, as they say, the best time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. The best time to strength train was yesterday. The second best time is today.
Yeah, my example is best time to look for a job is when you have a good one. So yeah, so I think we have been talking about the fundamentals of it, and I think obviously the aerobic exercises, strength training has, and we have established now that okay, there is a connection. Now coming to the emotional aspect of it. I have certain experiential theory here that I feel that emotional health is again similarly related to how physically fit you are. That is what I feel. But I would like to know that what do you feel about this and how can one work on this aspect towards longevity?
So I look at emotional health different than mental health,
Okay.
but I look at it as cognition as well.
Hmm.
And you are 100% correct. I am yet to see a person who is exercising 5 days a week ever go and be in a depressive state or go and
Hmm.
commit suicide.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am yet to come across, right? So that is established. I don't think there is any debate or there should be any debate about that. But the way I look at emotional health is from a different lens. And that lens and this lens will be, Priyanka, different for different people.
Yeah.
Everybody's definition of emotional health could be different. My definition of emotional health is uh, do things that make you less miserable. And if you are miserable, my personal experience is I will make people around me more miserable. And
Yeah.
nothing gives me that right. So, in many ways, emotional health, one cut of this will probably be lesser anger, lesser upsetness, lesser expectation, uh, you know, happiness, if I can probably extend this, but happiness becomes
Yeah. It's
too high and emotional, and nobody can always remain happy, but you can always be emotionally healthy, or majority of the time you can remain emotionally healthy. And it all boils down to, especially with respect to health, that ultimately you have to figure out your why, right? I am doing all of this because I want to live longer for my
yeah.
daughters,
Yeah.
right? Because if your why is strong, none of this will make you upset, none of this will make you angry, none of this will make you miserable. There are a lot of people who hate going to the gym, yet go to the gym, including myself, because I know my why is very strong. Because if I don't do this, I will not live longer for my daughters. I may live longer, but what's the point of living in a wheelchair for them? I love running. So I do that. It does not make me miserable. So when we will talk about nutrition, whether to eat something or not to eat something, the moment you exclude something, it has an impact on your emotional health. Sleep plays such a disproportionate impact on emotional health. My point is, what I was trying to tell you is, everybody I feel should give emotional health the number one priority. And if it comes down to that you have to choose between going to the gym and not being miserable, which means that if you go to the gym, you are going to be miserable right during the day. You are going to make people around you miserable. Don't go to. You want to eat burger for breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Coke breakfast, lunch, and dinner, please have. But nothing gives us the right to be miserable and make other around miserable. It's not worth it, is what I've learned. So for me, emotional health plays that role. And I have seen that in my years when I was upset, when I was angry, what all things that I would have said, which I now think I should have avoided, and things like that. You end up hurting people you love the most.
Yep.
Uh,
Sure.
and the fact of the matter is what you started with that, right? If, for example, you are exercising, your nutrition in under control, you have a purpose in life, you have a strong why, there is no reason you will be, your emotional health will be low. You will
Yeah.
keep coming back to that, right? So
Yeah.
for me, that's how I define emotional health.
And I'll just add to that. So when you're saying that happiness is different from emotional health, right? I would say that I look at it like more smaller actions that we do. So, for example, how many times am I getting irritated in the day? Like somebody didn't do what I expected and I'm irritated. Some like if I'm going to a shop to buy something and I don't find it, I'm irritated. I just feel that these again, I'm not sure if there is a correlation, but I always feel that these reactions can also be controlled if we are internally very balanced in terms of our hormonal health. That if our hormones are in the right place, these emotions, even if they surface, the intensity of it will not grow beyond a certain limit and you will know how to control it. Everybody goes through a lot of stress in life, and could be from job, could be from your personal life, anything, right? The I think I have felt that when I was in the lowest phase of my life, uh, somebody just told me that one thing you have to do today, go to gym. Just that one thing. Apart from that, if you want to do anything, eat, sleep, watch TV, do that. I eventually married that guy. So
Arey, great.
he great, right? That's my mantra of staying emotionally healthy. That you just marry the friend who is guiding you in the right direction. So
And which
I
is why they say whenever you are feeling a little more depressed or sad or upset or angry, just go and take a walk in the nature.
take a
It's
walk.
so
Yeah,
therapeutic, right?
yeah, yeah,
For somebody it could be gym, for somebody it could be walking the beach. It you are right. Physical movement will release, as you are saying, the hormones that will make you better. Also, if you do this consistently, you will be able to balance it. I completely agree.
yeah, yeah. Great. So now we have broken down the longevity into three pieces. One is the physical health, cognitive health, and the emotional health. Now I want to come to a more tactical part in this discussion. Is that like what are the things that we should be doing, and considering the fact that we all have a busy schedule, so it's not that I'm going to sit and meditate for 2 hours every day, right? But more things that like things that we can put a structure to and start following. And now, and that's something that it contributes to each area what we just spoke about, right? Each of these three areas. So let's start with, I would say, the biggest chunk here, which is the nutrition part. So we look at the nutrition, we look at the exercise, supplementation, and then emotional well-being and the stress management part. Is there anything else that we need to
Sleep.
add? Sorry, sleep. Yeah, sleep. So that I was counting under stress management, but yeah, okay. So let's start with nutrition.
Yes. So let's begin with the fact I want to tell everybody that the world spends 80% of the time correcting the nutrition, which does not have more than a 20% impact on your health, right? It is probably one of the most misunderstood and miswarranted subject on planet Earth. You go to Amazon and Google books on nutrition or diet, you will get 40,000 books. That tells you how confused the world is. My nutritional philosophy is very simple. The first question I ask is my waist bigger than my uh, hips?
Yep.
Do I have a pot? If I have a paunch, that means I am overnourished. In my view, the audience that is listening to this podcast, 95 to 98% category will be that, right? Which then gives you a very simple answer that if you are overnourished, you need to undernourish. Having read books and books and books and books and scientific literature after literature after literature on nutrition, and I'm saying if you are in that overnourished category and you want to bring yourself down to the undernourished category, which a lot of people may even call it as weight loss, the only thing that has shown scientifically proven from fruit flies to rodents to humans is calorie restriction, right? So, first thing I will tell people is eat less often. The moment you eat less often, I am attacking one thing which is very common only to Indians, which is snacking. घर से नाश्ता करके गए नहीं 10:30 बजे टक 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 कुछ स्नैकिंग चाहिए 12:30 बजे खाना का 2:30 स्नैकिंग 4:30 बजे सैंडविच चाहिए 6:30 बजे और कुछ चाहिए 8:30 बजे खाना चाहिए खाना खाने के बाद रात को भी सोते वक्त मिठाई खा लेते, चॉकलेट खा लेते. So our clock is 24 hour. You are giving excess calories, you will have to reduce. The easiest two protocols that I tell people is to eat less often, fast more often.
Yeah.
And here I'm not talking about a water fast or a spiritual fast where you don't eat anything. I have a very simple matrix. After your dinner, don't eat anything and delay your breakfast for 1 hour to 2 hours and sleep for 8 hours. So automatically I'm saying 2 plus 8 plus 2. From a eating window, I have taken out 12 hours of your life. So the moment I have taken 12 hours of your eating window out, I am also giving your body to rest, which is making your mitochondria a lot more healthy.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, the first protocol is fast more often. Give at least a 10-hour break between dinner and breakfast. Try for 12. If not 12, give 10. Right? Number two, I'm saying increase your protein. And I'm not saying I don't want you to eat protein like somebody who's going and doing strength training. No. At least come to zero point 0.8 gram or 1 gram of protein per kg of body weight. Keep your protein level constant. You can play with your carbs and fat if your protein levels are constant. Today, our protein levels are here, our carbs is constant. Now, why is that important for me? If you, for example, include 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal, so let's say you may start your day with a protein shake, or you may start your day with some nuts, or you may have eggs for breakfast, or you may have some kind of protein as your first meal, 20, 30 grams. There is no way you can feel hungry in 2 hours.
Absolutely.
Protein increases your leptin levels, it gives you a satiety. Then it goes into your lunch. If you again eat 30, 40 grams of protein for lunch, there is no way you will want to snack at 4 p.m. 4 to 6 p.m. is a danger zone. Because that is all where all your motivation then will come and break. At which point of time, my recommendation to people is have chash, have nimbu pani, have black coffee, keep some nuts, some chash, some makhana. Don't go for junk like chips or fruit juice or chai with biscuit or a samosa or a bhel or a sandwich. If you avoid that 4 to 6 window uh, in a more intelligent manner, then you come to dinner. Again, eat 20, 30 grams of protein. Trust me, that is all there is to nutrition.
Yes.
If you now double click, what am I saying? Fast more often, have 3 meals a day, and avoid junk. But I will make life easy for people. I don't want them to follow this 7 days a week. No. We are humans. I also love my samosa. I also love my pani puri. These are stuff. There are memories, our childhood memories are attached to this. Every time I come from Calcutta and I eat the puchka, I relive my childhood. I don't want to deprive myself of that. All I'm telling myself is don't eat puchka 7 days a week. I cheat 20% of the time. I am okay with that. You would have corrected your nutrition significantly. There are three simple other things that you need to, which if you are listening to this podcast, I hope you are already there. Don't smoke.
Thank God.
Right? If you are still listening to this podcast and smoking, nikal jao.
And alcohol.
No alcohol. And yes, in today's world, alcohol has also to do with social activity. So I never say don't drink. Restrict it to 2 drinks or 3 drinks. Drink clean alcohol. Don't mix it with fruit juice or Coke or Sprite. Drink your clean drinks with water or soda. And number three, please don't eat sugar. Every single problem in your life is today because of sugar. And let me tell people, sugar is not what you think is sugar. Maida is sugar, biscuit is sugar, your chips is sugar, your fruit juice is sugar, your cola is sugar. So all I'm saying is it's not very complicated, and which is whenever I go to friends gathering and some wedding where people know now I'm in that subject, the moment they talk about nutrition, I make an exit. He said I can talk about anything, but
I do the same. I do the same.
because everybody has a point of view. मेरी दादी ये कहती थी तेरी दादी के टाइम में दादी कितनी चीनी खाती थी यार. मेरी दादी कहती थी चीनी तो खानी चाहिए चाय के साथ. हाँ मैं भी मानता हूँ खानी चाहिए. बट यार फिर तू ब्रेकफास्ट में चीनी मत खाना, फ्रूट जूस मत पी, ब्रेड मत खा। तेरी नानी ब्रेड खाती थी क्या? तेरी नानी फ्रूट जूस पीती थी क्या? तेरी नानी घर के सारे काम करती थी, तू करता है कुछ?
चक्की
अब
चलाते
पानी
थे,
भी लगी।
पानी भर के लाते थे, मतलब दैट वाज दोज वर द डेज।
तेरे से पानी का ग्लास भी उठाया नहीं जाता है। यू आर कंपेयरिंग योरसेल्फ विथ योर।
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't believe in that bullshit. Because my nanny used to have, yes. Dan Buettner has written this beautiful book, The Blue Zones, right? And poor guy has done so much of work to tell what is common in across blue zone. And the only thing people look at what is common is the nutrition part. Arey, in Italy, they used to have wine, so I will have wine.
yeah,
In Sardinia, they used to have fish, so I will have fish. Bhai, they used to exercise. They had a social connect. They were, at the age of 90 also, they were gardening. So, uh, my view on nutrition is very simple. Are you overnourished or undernourished? Are you adequately muscled or under muscled?
yeah.
And number three, in both the cases, I know for 95% of the Indians, you are overnourished, under muscled. Simple, strength train, add up on protein, everything else will take care of it.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. Like a 200 calorie deficit can actually again add to your longevity aspect. And the I think the worst part is that people don't even know if they are eating more, like, or overeating or undereating. That's something that they need to understand, and there are plenty of tools that can help them. Like, it's not even rocket science anymore. So it's very easy.
When you eat out, now there are studies that have done. When you eat out, you will eat 500 calories more.
Absolutely, yeah.
So anybody who is eating out or doing Swiggy Zomato, for every time you do Swiggy Zomato, you are eating 500 calories more. How
Yeah,
will you lose weight? Sorry.
yeah.
If you are eating, watching television, you will eat 300 calories more.
And the so few things that I agree with you and I follow at whatever, like, I'm 40, so I'm still following that. I've been doing intermittent fasting. I've reduced, I think, since last 1 year approximately, I've tried reducing number of times I'm eating, which basically means, even like I was taking 3 big meals a day, now I take 2 big meals a day. And if I have to, which is my one of my other meal is a pre-workout meal, which is smaller meal only. But apart from that, when I'm sitting and eating, that's only 2 meals a day. I take lot of vegetables. I eat lot of vegetables. Like, it's my job to finish the vegetables on this earth. This is the amount that
Yeah.
I really eat. Like, yeah, I have a big box wherein I stuff in my salad and I eat it. It takes me a lot of time, and it's like, yeah, I'm just eating. I enjoy my
Exactly.
salad. It's
Just
very
eat
simple.
one bowl of salad before your lunch or your
Yeah,
dinner. Too big. Your gut friends will salute you because what the salad you are eating is fiber. Fiber
yeah,
is not food for you. Fiber is food for your gut
gut.
bacteria.
Yeah,
If you feed them, keep them happy, they will keep you happy without any diseases, right? Also, as you said, it takes so much of time to eat fiber that you will then not want
you
to
will
eat
get
too much
tired of
other
eating.
things. Exactly.
Yeah,
And number three, from your blood glucose metabolism point of view, when you eat so much of fiber, it creates a mesh. After that, when you eat your
yep,
roti or your rice or whatever, the absorption of blood glucose is much smaller,
yeah,
which means you will be lot more insulin sensitive. Your ability. The moment you become insulin resistant, you get diabetes. You will not be insulin resistant. One thing, fiber has
yeah.
so many multiple benefits. It's like a
Oh, yeah,
Swiss knife. It has so many.
yeah. Absolutely agree. So, so I think the takeaways from here is going to be, do fasting for at least 12 hours if you can. At least 12 hours, 14 hours is great. If you can do 16, nothing like it. But don't beat yourself over it that I have to do 16/8 because that's the most popular one, right? So, but if you can do 12, 14 consistently, great. Eat less number of times, have more protein, add lot of vegetables in your meal. If you want to enjoy your treats, I always say that please don't call it cheat, and hog it like you're never going to get that food again. Have it as a treat to yourself, enjoy a small portion of it. And I don't think that there is anything on this world that you have to leave. You can even have sugar in moderation if you know how to enjoy that better, right? So, yeah, I mean,
The only thing I will add to that, Priyanka, is take a diet break once in a while.
take a
Diet break once in a while.
yeah,
So you
So
don't need to follow this 7 days a week.
yeah,
If you
absolutely.
remain consistent 80% of the time, you are in the good.
Yeah, agreed. All right. So that was about the tips on the nutrition side. How do you manage and simplifying it to the core? Now coming to the exercise aspect, what is your recommendation?
So recommendation for me would be different for different people where they are in terms of. So let's look at somebody who's currently not exercising
Yeah.
or not doing anything. For them, I would say go for a walk for 30 minutes every alternate. You don't have to do anything dramatic. Just go for a walk.
Hmm.
Build a routine. Go at the same time every day, thrice a week. Do that for 1 month. After 1 month, I don't change anything. Just increase the intensity from walking, make it a brisk walk. After 1 month, start to see if you can add a little bit of jogging to this
Yeah.
for 1 month. After 3 months is where I will then start incorporating. Once your aerobic capacity builds up, when you're zone two, you're laying the foundation to this, I will make two changes. If they are then happy with the fact and consistent with the fact that they've been exercising, I will add 2 days of weight training,
Mhm.
not more. Only 2 days, not more than 45 minutes, full body workout. And do normal movements. Don't try and use machines because as a beginner, machines help you a lot. It's very difficult to do a naked bench press on your own if you don't have a personal trainer. Very easy to do it on a machine. Machine assists you. So that is something that I will add to a beginner. I will also tell a beginner of a concept which is very foundational in exercise called progressive overload. Whether it is aerobic or whether it is cardio or gym, every week, 10 days, 15 days, start increasing intensity little bit by 3 to 4% or 5% maximum. Because if you don't progressively overload, then you will not get the benefits.
Yeah.
So you keep, because as you are doing that, your base is becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and which you need to add intensity. That's all for beginner. Somebody who is of my age, or let's say your age, 40 to 50 soon, they will have to completely, and who have been exercising in some form and fashion, they will have to completely change the way they exercise as per me if they want to live healthier and longer. The objective will define what exercise is doing. Because this podcast is on longevity, which I do, uh, you move from being a specialist to being a generalist. That's the first thing. So there are cardio junkies. I have a lot of my friends who are marathoners who only love running. They will not go to the gym. And then I have gym rats who only want to go to the gym, will never do cardio. If they are 50 and their purpose or objective is like mine, longevity, both, and there are people who only love to play sports, and it's good for them. They say, my gym, I play tennis every day, I swim every day. What they are not realizing is this is becoming very specific. Either you are doing cardio or you are doing strength training or swimming or tennis. If you want to live longer, one set of exercise will not reach you achieve your goal. For them, I have two cardio exercises and then strength and stability. These are my four pillars. First is zone 2 training. They should get at least 2 hours to 2.5 hours of zone 2. What is zone 2? Let's simplify for people.
Two
So
hours
what
in a
happens?
week. 2 hours in a week.
2 hours in a week. That's all.
Yeah.
Because you are building the foundation, and that foundation needs to be. So if I am looking at longevity, there is a horizontal line and there is a vertical line, and this is a triangle. I want the maximum triangle space. So I have to increase this and I have to increase this. So currently I'm saying this, which is your aerobic capacity
Yeah.
and your efficiency I want to build, for which do 2 hours of zone 2. Zone 2 is a speed at which you can converse with somebody, but if you go any faster, your conversation will break. You get immediately into zone 3. If you are somebody who's wearing a smartwatch, it does it for you. But let's explain what zone 2 is, people. Is, let's say my age is 50, the maximum heart rate that I can have as per average
The
data
heart rate.
is
Yeah.
220 minus my age,
Yeah.
which is 20 minus 50 is 170 is my maximum heart rate. About 60 to 70% of this is where you are in zone 2, which is about 125, 130 for me. But Not too many people have smartwatches. Difficult. The best way to do is what I call as RPs, rate of perceived exertion, which you can know by your ability to talk. While you are walking, if you get a call very comfortable, you are talking, that means you are in zone 1, increase your speed. You are talking, but you can't hold a conversation, you are in zone 2, slow down. So zone 2, give 2 hours. What a lot of people feel, they will find this slow, but it is
Yeah.
important to build. The most strong aerobic athletes are Tour de France cyclists. They have the more peak aerobic capacity, like they are the epitome of aerobic. Not Usain, he runs sprint. They run this race for 7 days. They also spend 70 to 80% of their time in zone 2 because they're building the base. Because when you are in zone 2, what is happening is your body is using fat as fuel.
Right.
And has disproportionate amount of fat compared to glucose in the body stored. So body is becoming metabolically flexible, which is also what you want. So zone 2 has multiple benefits. So you do that for 2 hours. 1 day a week for 20 minutes. Break this into 3 sessions. So let's say 21 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. 3.5 minutes run as fast as you can, where literally your heart will come out of your mouth. And then 3.5 minutes, take a rest. Sit down. Again run for 3.5 minutes, sit down. Run for 3.5 minutes, sit down. Only 21 minutes of exercise. This is called VO2 max training. You are taking a body to a peak capacity of its ability to use. After that, you should not be even able to run 10 meters. You should run at that speed, which means you've exhausted all the oxygen that your muscles or your body could carry for your muscle to function. That will increase your VO2 max. Why you want to do that? If at the age of, say, 85, one of my objective is that I should be able to play cricket, I need a VO2 max of 30. If I put that formula today, that we lose muscle mass, muscle capacity, VO2 max at a particular, pace, my VO2 max at the age of 75 or 80 will be about 20. I cannot play cricket. The only way I can play cricket is if today my VO2 max goes to about 55 or 60, because then the decline gets arrested. So you are building efficiency and you are building peak aerobic capacity, which is what I would recommend for somebody who's working on longevity. Then is obviously to increase muscle strength and muscle power.
Yeah.
So 3 days of strength training, 1 day upper body, 1 day back, 1 day front, 1 day legs. You can even do different muscle group, pull, push, legs, but do it with a purpose. In that, we have a concept called 1 rep max. You should know what your 1 rep max is. So whatever bench you are doing, what is the maximum weight you can lift only for 1 rep? Suppose instead of 1, you use 3, go to Google, put that 3 in the weight, you will get your 1 rep max. Now, when you are training for your strength 3 days a week, half of that time you should be at 55 to 60%. And the balance half of the time you should be at about 70 to 70%. What this does is it will ensure there is enough muscle breakage.
Yeah.
And then when you give it, you will build. I won't say you will build too much of muscle strength, you will decline the muscle loss. Last, very important for people like me and you, Priyanka, is to start working on our stability, which is working on our core.
Yeah.
Working on grip strength, working on our pronation and supination. And there are a lot of exercises you should incorporate for that during your gym while you are doing your strength. So my exercise routine will be different for different people depending on their exercise.
Yeah, awesome. So, I think the cardio part seems very simple. That okay, 1.5 to 2 hours of zone 2 cardio every week. In terms of the VO2 max training, you said 3 minutes of running. I have a follow-up question there. That 3.5 minutes of running at the max speed, I think is a lot. So, do you mean breaking that three and a
Not
half
at max
minutes?
speed. No, not max speed. You run for 3.5 minutes, you cover whatever distance you can cover.
Okay.
I am
Okay.
not saying
Understood.
whatever speed. The point
That's
is,
the
it will take you some
got it.
time.
So you have to run
As
for 3.5 minutes.
after 3.5 minutes, you are exhausted. You cannot
Got
go
it.
any further.
Got it. Understood. And in terms of strength training, if I have to say that if somebody has only 2 days to work out for or like the strength part, I would not
Then
want
hold.
to. So push pull leg is obviously 3 days routine. I would say that have a full body routine here, wherein either you can combine one push leg, other day you can have pull and leg. Any kind of such combination you can combine. And if you want to do all body weight exercises all both the days, that's also okay, as long as we are putting in enough tension in the muscle. Just to simplify for people who are just starting out, or even if you are a beginner intermediate, you really don't need to train ever for your 1 rep max, to be honest. You really don't even need to know that, because why I'm saying is that if you don't have a spotter, if you don't have a trainer, I do not suggest to go for just for curiosity, say what is my 1 rep max going to be. Please don't do it, because 1 rep max is you really need somebody to be there. So I would say that train in the range of 8 to 12 repetitions or max 15 repetitions. That should be good. And you should know that last couple of repetitions is little bit of a struggle for you, even if you are
You are
not
fatigued.
reaching the
Yeah.
fit.
Take
Yeah.
the
So
muscle to fatigue.
fatigue close to failure, not failing still. By failing, I mean that you are just not able to lift and your form is going for a toss. No, don't do that. Form should not go for a toss, even if you are doing half repetition towards the end of it, like a half rep, right? Where you are not able to move the weight completely
Well,
all the way down to the chest. I'm fine if you're doing half rep, but please don't compromise on the on your form at all, and complete the repetition as you are supposed to. Baki itna difficult hai nahi. It's a very simple thing. Just choose 5 to 8 variety movements. And I want to ask you that, do you have your specific go-to compound movements that you think that if you know this, you're sorted?
no, no, completely agree. A recommendation to people is if you are in your 40s and 50s, I would assume you've made enough money or reasonable amount of money. At least if you are somebody who's new to strength training, take a personal trainer for at least 1 quarter or 2 quarter. Trust me, it helps a lot. More important than correcting your form, which is extremely critical when you are working out, they will help you prevent any injury, because sometimes that is a very big uh, risk for people who are starting off. So invest in a personal trainer for 3 to 6 months. Learn what all exercise you have to do, and then if you want to get off it, it's okay. I have been using a personal trainer now for 13 years, and I just feel that the amount of value they add is significant.
Yeah, true that. Okay, great. So that wraps up our strength training. Now coming to supplementation. So what is your go-to supplementation which really helps you first keep your gut healthy, keep you like helps you with the recovery for your exercising, and improves your sleep quality, and if you do anything specifically for stress, reducing stress. So what are these go-to supplements for you?
I don't take any supplement for my gut
Okay.
health. My three favorite partners for gut health, and I have done a course on gut health from Stanford, and I've done a lot of work on gut and the microbiome. The fact is, any product that says prebiotic, any product that says probiotic, or any product that says postbiotic are just marketing. The world of human microbiome is still so much in its nascency. We are still learning so much about the different species. I'll just give you an example. We have 30 trillion cells. We have more than uh, 300 trillion or maybe even more gut bacteria inside. We have 20 to 30,000 genes, the human body or human. Our gut microbiome has close to about 3 lakh genes. And all these genes play different roles. So the world is still learning a lot about it. What they have learned so far in India, though they start from your mouth and end at the anus, they reside in the large intestine. Their food is what I call as microbiota accessible carbohydrates, or MAC, not McDonald's, but MAC. The microbiota accessible carbohydrate is what Priyanka just mentioned. It is fiber. As long as you are eating enough vegetables and nuts which have enough fiber, you don't need any prebiotic. Second thing, your gut bacteria are themselves probiotic. Probiotics definition is they are live. That's why they are called gut or probiotics. So anything that you eat fermented, whether it is achar, whether it is yogurt, whether it is sauerkraut, whatever, anything fermented that you eat, where there is live strain. When you eat idli, idli is made from fermented batter, but when you put it in the heat, the bacteria dies. So there are no live strain in idli. But if you are eating your yogurt, you are eating your pickle, which your grandmom has made. She put the pickle jar on the sun, live bacteria was there. Then you put it in refrigeration. That's your only probiotic you need. The only time I will recommend people to supplement on probiotic is when you take an antibiotic course. Antibiotic is like a nuclear bomb on your gut bacteria. It does not differentiate between good and bad bacteria. It kills everybody, right? So hence, after that, if you want to supplement with what your doctor says, because he knows which life strains that you need. Otherwise, you don't need any probiotic. When you see ad, आपको bloating है, आपको constipation है, क्या, all bullshit.
Weight loss bhi.
WHO has a definition for probiotics. Their definition of probiotic is, if I am selling a probiotic in Western world, I should write what is the life strain inside that probiotic. Number two, I should tell what health benefit it gives me. And number three, that health benefit should be demonstrated through a RCT, a randomized controlled trial. In India, nobody does that. So it's pure marketing. And then there is postbiotic. So if probiotics are your gut bacteria, their food is prebiotic. What they secrete is called postbiotics. What they secrete is all the vitamins and minerals that they absorb from the food, which you can use. Second, they secrete is short chain fatty acid, which is very beneficial to you. So if somebody says that this has postbiotic, if you are feeding your gut bacteria enough fiber and enough fermented food, it is secreting the necessity postbiotic. You don't need any new postbiotic. One food that is bad for your gut bacteria is sugar. Sugar doesn't reach the large intestine. It gets metabolized through the stomach, small intestine, into the vein and goes away. So when you eat too much of processed food, your gut intestine or your large intestine bacteria, which are residing, which is 90%, are hungry. If you keep them hungry, they start eating the intestinal lining. That is their food. When they start eating that intestinal lining, which is made up of mucus, you have a leaky gut. When you have a leaky gut, you will have stomach issues. You will have diseases. So when it comes to gut health, Priyanka, keep it very simple. Get everything that you want for your gut health from the food. That's all that you need.
Right. And what about your recovery and sleep?
So, recovery, I track all my recovery through the Whoop that I wear. Recovery is from the strain that you give your body. That strain, for example, is measured through your heartbeats. So let's say you and I are talking, and suddenly there is a thief that comes. I will get very agitated. If I will look at my Whoop, my heartbeat has gone up significantly. It is indicating to my body there is stress. Body will make certain hormones like cortisols, which will help me deal with that stress. Adrenaline, I will want to run from here, right? So stress from that perspective, you can measure it now. You can measure your strain. When I go to the gym, when I'm exercising, I'm creating good stress. Again, my strain levels will go up. Now, the recovery protocol, you have three parts to this. The biggest role is played by sleep. And we will come to sleep later because it's a much bigger subject. Second is your nutrition. If you are exercising well but not fueling or refueling well, you will not recover.
Yeah.
And number three, you will need to take external help in terms of supplements. The supplements that I use at my age are very simple. Protein I supplement in the form of protein shake. Number two, at night I take my magnesium, because magnesium plays a disproportionate role in a lot of other metabolic functions, including bone mineral density. It works closely with calcium, so on and so forth. Very important for your cognition as well. Number three, I take is omega-3 fish oil. Because I'm a vegetarian, and I don't eat enough. I don't eat salmon. My consumption of walnuts is also limited. I need to supplement. I take 1 gram of fish oil, and I ensure that of that 1 gram, 750 to 8 mg is DHA and EPA, which are the constituent you need to watch for. Once a month, I will check my vitamin D levels, and if I'm deficient, I will increase. Beyond that, I don't take any other supplement. I don't take melatonin. I don't take vitamin C. I don't take vitamin A. I don't take vitamin D only when there is deficient, because every morning I wake up, I go to the terrace and I'm in the sun and I get my vitamin D. The problem with supplementation is the following. Our blood has a 90-day cycle. So
Mm-hmm.
any supplement that you take, you should follow that for 90 days. Number one. Most people who take supplement don't know why they are taking. Somebody says zinc is good, they will take some. But first figure out how much zinc is good. One thing, big message I want to give our listeners is vitamins and minerals are called micronutrient. Unlike macronutrient, which your body needs in grams, micronutrients are needed in milligrams.
Yeah.
If you have a diverse range of diet, if you are eating your vegetables, your fruits, you are eating your grains, you are eating your nuts, you are eating your ghee or good fat, eating your protein, you are getting all the vitamins and minerals. You will not be deficient. Unless if I'm a vegetarian, I will be deficient in vitamin B12 or fish oil. But otherwise, you will largely be deficient. Before taking any supplement, get yourself measured. Know what is the minimum. Are you above or below? Then supplement. If you supplement for 90 days and then recheck your levels to figure out whether that supplement works or not. Something like magnesium we spoke about. The magnesium bottle I buy comes for 5,000 rupees for 1 month. I also get a 400 rupee magnesium in Amazon. So when it comes to supplement, the quality of ingredients is very important. Go for single source ingredients. Unfortunately, all this knowledge is not easily available, which is why I say go for a broader, correct all the deficiency through diet.
Yeah.
Then if you want 1 or 2 supplement, you can add if you want. I am somebody who's like, I'd like to let my diet take care of it, apart from the 2, 3 things that I need.
True. So supplements are there to supplement the nutrition that we are taking.
Exactly. Absolutely. 100%. There is a reason why they are called
They're called
supplement. Otherwise,
supplements.
it would be macro or micronutrient.
Correct. All right. So coming to the sleep management, sleep and stress part of it, uh, what is your protocol?
Yeah, I just feel that sleep is such one of the most misunderstood, one of the most abused thing we humans have done. And it is very interesting. Come to think of it, sleep is not sleep as we know it. Sleep is a lot more complicated. Think about it. Since mankind came into Earth, right? Why mankind? Anything living that came into Earth, every living thing sleeps, including plants, animals, birds, reptiles. All of us sleep.
Hmm.
After billions of years of evolution, nature still makes us sleep 1/3 of our life. अभी तो ठीक है, but Priyanka, just reflect back 1,000 years back or 2,000 years back, when our forefathers were hunting. What environment that would have been, where they had to sleep at night for 8 hours.
Difficult.
They were doing nothing, right? They were neither foraging nor they were procreating. They were sleeping. They were becoming prey. And yet nature forced them to sleep. There has to be a very, very strong evolutionary reason why nature has preserved sleep and conserved sleep and made it mandatory. Why is it that when you are awake for 16 hours, you will want to sleep? There is a solid reason for that. And the reason is as follows. When we go to sleep, we sleep in 2 cycles. One is called the NREM cycle, or a light deep sleep cycle, which is called the non-rapid eye movement. This is when we sleep, we get into light sleep. So when we are awake, our brain waves, when they were measured through an electrode, they are like this. We are talking currently, they are moving very fast. Brain is very active. Priyanka has asked, I have to process, I have to think, right? When we go to sleep, and from light sleep. So we move from light sleep, so awake, then we get into light sleep, and then we get into deep sleep. It's like a beautiful mantra chant. It's very. Now, what is happening within this is every second we get 11 bytes of information, 11 million bytes of information. Right through the day, the brain has got so much of information. At night, when we are in deep sleep, the brain will convert what is important into folders which are accessible. Today, if I were to ask you, tell me one childhood memory, what would it be? Tell me.
You have lots of memories. I think there is like a
Give
part
me
of your
one.
brain that, uh, yeah, I used to play with my cousins that I remember. I didn't used to go out to
Okay.
play, but yeah, I used to play at
What
home,
age would
around 10, 12.
you still remember, right? 30 years after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prashant asks, the brain goes and retrieves that folder because brain has stored those memories in a folder which are accessible. This work happens when we are in deep sleep. It takes out what is unimportant. In our laptop, we have RAM memory. So in the morning when you wake up, why do you feel fresh? Because brain has taken out all that was
Mm.
unimportant through it. All that was important is in a folder. When Priyanka has one memory, cousin play, it comes out.
Yeah.
That role it does. When you are in deep sleep, you increase your creativity. Your learning gets accentuated. When you are in deep sleep, your brain is clearing out all the toxins, the amyloid plaque that we spoke about. People who sleep for 6 hours instead of 8 hours have a 75% more chance of developing Alzheimer's. They have 200% more chance of dying of heart attack. They have 300% more chance of dying of cancer because the brain has not been able to clean. Our
Yeah.
brain is 2% of our body weight, but it consumes 20% of the fuel or the nutrient that we give. In the morning, when you go to your pot, that is 80% or 75%. 25% is in the brain, it cannot come through the blood brain barrier. So, in the deep sleep, that gets cleaned up. Your neurons can make more connection. You've heard of neuroplasticity? Your
Mhm.
brain can expand.
Yeah.
That happens only during sleep. Sex hormones, testosterone and estrogen, when you are in deep sleep, they are made. The peak capacity of testosterone and estrogen is created when we are asleep. All that happens in the NREM part of sleep. And then we get into the rapid eye movement part of sleep, which is where you have horizontal movement of your
Yeah.
eyeballs. That is where your mind is active. That is when you dream.
When we are
That is when
processing.
your brain is making connection. It is making sense. Why do people say sleep over it? Brain will remove the
Mm.
toxins, will give you answer. The theory of relativity came to Albert Einstein in dream. He didn't dream of theory of relativity, but he had too many questions. When he went to sleep, when he woke up, the brain had made that connection. Frankenstein was written in dreams. Larry Page thought of Google in his dreams. That is the power of dream. Why was dream evolutionary made? To help you deal with trauma. You were hit by a lion today. You are traumatized.
Yeah.
Brain had to give you some kind of a balm to overcome that trauma so that tomorrow you will go and want to hunt again. The only way you could deal with the trauma was in sleep. The first medication that is given to anybody who is depressed or has suicidal tendency is sleeping medicine. It is only during sleep can you deal with trauma. All this happens because of sleep. You undersleep for only 2 hours one day. Forget anything else. And I measure it through my blood glucose monitor. Your blood glucose levels will go up by 20%. 2 hours of undersleep.
Yeah.
People who undersleep will become pre-diabetic faster. They will become insulin resistant faster because their blood glucose levels are elevated. What happens when you are sleeping? When you are sleeping, your resting heart rate comes down. Your heart is beating aram se. It doesn't have to do too much of work. Your heart is gaining strength. When you are sleeping, your blood pressure comes down. Your vessels are resting. If you don't sleep well, your heart rate will be higher. Higher heart rate, higher blood pressure, heart attack. There is not a single bodily biological function that does not go through the roof when we sleep, which is why we sleep. The best way to deal with your stress is sleep. Best way to deal with a death in the family is sleep. Best way to deal with a bad day, sleep.
Hmm.
Your kid is learning, preparing for exams. Ask him to take a nap, he will remember more. If he sleeps 8 hours, he will remember everything that he learned the previous night because your memory gets enhanced at that point of time. Means you have no idea how much I can go on and on and on and on and on and on for sleep. And that's what I say. No exercise, no nutrition. Before you want to turn healthy, first learn to sleep from between 7 and 9 hours.
Yeah.
If you can't even do that, doesn't matter how much you exercise, doesn't matter what right you eat. Because doesn't matter how much you exercise, because when you are not slept and you have not recovered, you will have injury. Doesn't nutrition doesn't matter because if you have not slept, your blood glucose anyways is going to. So all the good that you did has become zero.
Correct.
People who undersleep eat more because when you are undersleeping, your ghrelin level goes up. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. When you undersleep, you never go and eat vegetables. You will only go and eat carbs. You will only go and eat sweet because that is what the brain wants, your
To
dopamine,
feel. Yeah.
to keep you awake. If there is anything anybody can take from today's such a long session is only one thing. Please sleep for 7 to 9 hours. Sleep has an image issue in society.
Yeah.
If you are oversleeping like me, 8 to 9 hours a night, I am considered as lazy. You go to your workplace and say 5 घंटा सो के काम करने आया था, people will pat your back. I will slap the person. It's like raping somebody and coming and telling yourself, yeah, I raped someone. Is that something to be proud about? That is the issue with sleep.
Yeah.
Undersleep is an epidemic. I am not saying. World Health Organization declared undersleep as mankind's biggest epidemic.
True.
We
And
have to change the narrative around sleep.
all we need to do for a good sleep is I think that following a schedule is the most important. Like you can't sleep at 9 one day and 12 one day, and or some people say that I was sleep deprived, so I'm going to sleep through the weekend to cover it all up. It has to be a consistent schedule that you follow, and you have to do that every single day. That's how you can be more productive and have a better
So there
health.
is a scientific definition of good sleep. I will take an acronym, Kayamat se Kayamat.
Mm-hmm.
QCQT. Q is quality of sleep. So when you are sleeping, you must be sleeping. You should not keep awakening.
Yeah.
If you remember awakening at night, checking your phone means quality is down.
Yeah.
Second is quantity, 7 to 9 hours. C is consistency, exactly what you said. Sleep at the same time every single night and wake up at the same time every single day, 7 to 9 hours. Last is T, timing. There are different chronotypes. There are morning people, there are evening people, and there are people who are in between. There, anybody can go and fill up a MEQ questionnaire. It's called morning evening questionnaire. Whether you are a morning person or an evening person, it has nothing to do with lifestyle. There are 9 genes that determine that. So you inherit that. But it is important for you to know what genotype you are. If you are a morning person, then you technically must go to bed at 8 p.m.
Hmm.
If you are a night person, you must go to bed at 12 p.m. There's no point trying to sleep at night because you won't sleep. Your quality of sleep will come down. You are only rolling in the bed. And those who are in between, like me, we have to go to sleep at 10. So try to sleep as per your phenotype. Science has a definition. Very simple to sleep well. Dark room. No TV or gadget 1 hour before. Absolutely cold room. Food 2 hours before. No water 1 hour before. That's it.
Awesome. So, in terms of sleep, even I say that we should not underestimate it. The hormonal changes that happen because of less sleep is terrible. So, before you start buying organic food items to, eat healthy and be highly nutritious, I think the better thing is that first to start sleeping at the same time and wake up at the same time, have a good quality sleep. That's very important. If your excuse is that my work life is effed and I don't have time to sleep, I'm sure that there is a lot that you can do. Figure it out at your workplace or whatever it is. But this is non negotiable, certainly non negotiable.
Once the Netflix CEO was asked this question, who's your competition? Do you see Star as competition? Do you
People are
see
promoting good
Apple?
sleep.
No, yeah, exactly. He said my competition is sleep.
Yeah, awesome. I'm glad to know that Netflix is my competition because we are one of those people who are promoting sleep.
Absolutely. I beat Netflix every day.
Awesome. All right. So I think we have covered in terms of the pillars that we talked about. I'll quickly sum it up. So the health, physical health part, the cognitive health, and then the emotional health. And we have also spoken about the different pillars that are going to work towards making all of these areas, for the betterment of it. Now, I want to know from you that there are a lot of research and the technology, the new inventions are coming for us to kind of measure and kind of work towards being better in terms of the health span. Can you point out like the technologically, what are the things that you think that are something people should try out? Maybe in terms of gadget, anything in terms of our measurement that we can take or that we should use on a regular basis to kind of ensure that we are on the right track.
Sir, before I even tell you what I use, and that will give you an insight as to how you can think about it. One thing I will tell you, technology is like fire. It can cook your food or it can burn your house, right? And I always only tell people, go towards technology if you can get inspired by data. If you are going to get scared by data, because the only thing tech is doing is providing data. That's all it is doing. How you interpret and what you do. If that data scares you and takes you back into a hole, don't look at that data. Start implementing. For me, data works. It gives me, if I know where I am, I know where I can go. So, for example, over the last 2 years, I've been wearing 1.5 years, I've been wearing a continuous glucose monitor. Before, okay, let me take one step back and also tell you that I'm a very big believer that all behavior is belief driven. Believe you can, believe you can't. Either ways, you are right. Henry Ford said that. If your belief will not change, your behavior will not change. I may keep coming and telling you that exercise is good for you, but till you believe it, your behavior is not going to change, right? My very central belief is sugar is bad. And the reason why I say this is understanding the science of sugar, why that excess blood glucose circulating, how it caramelizes your hemoglobin in your RBC, which leads to oxidative stress, which weakens the endothelial layer of the blood vessels, which can lead to a heart attack, which is the number one killer in the world. My belief is very strong with sugar. And
Just
to,
a quick clarification here. When you say sugar, do you mean white sugar or
I mean
it is
anything.
sugar? Okay,
So again, sugar has different names. Glucose is also sugar, fructose is also sugar, sucrose is also sugar, maltose is also sugar, lactose is also sugar. I am saying any form of sugar.
right.
Sugar which can either increase glucose or it increases glucose and fructose both. What you said, white sugar is 50% glucose and 50% fructose. When you talk about, say, for example, maida, it is largely glucose. For me, all of these are my enemy.
Exactly.
But the flip side is body's preferred source of fuel is glucose. Right? No glucose, no life. But it is so important that the body tries to measure it in a very narrow band called glucose homeostasis. And that is 5 grams of circulating blood sugar, blood glucose in a 6-liter blood. Our body has 5 to 6 liters of blood. Normal levels are 5 grams. Instead of 5 grams, if this becomes 7 grams, you are diabetic. One Coke can has 29 grams of sugar. Okay. But why sugar is so important to me is because I know one part of excess sugar leads to weakening of endothelial heart attack. My father died from that. I want to prevent, I want to live longer. My belief is very strong. Second is all the excess sugar body first tries to remove it because it still wants to give you a chance to live. First goes and stores in the liver, then into muscles, then into fat. So it makes you obese. Obesity is the second biggest cause for cancer. First being smoking. Second biggest cause of death is cancer. Second cause, obesity. I want to prevent. Third thing, when you have so much of excess sugar, you get diabetic. 5 to 7 grams, you have diabetes. Diabetes is the last stop before all illness.
Yeah.
Recently, Singapore declared a war on diabetes. The reason why they declared is they feel by 2050, Singapore have 1 million diabetic people. India today has 400 million. And the reason why they declared is when they saw that people who are coming with kidney failure, 70% of them are diabetic. People who are coming with heart attack, 50% of them are diabetic. People who came for leg amputation, 90% were diabetic. So they showed what diabetes does. There is enough studies that says it's the last stop. After that, heart attack, stroke, cancer, respiratory illness, whatever. I don't want to get diabetic soon. And all this can be controlled through. So for me, it is that one lever which can land my health plane safely. So I am a little paranoid about sugar. So I measure it. Now, what does this tell me? Every time I eat a food, it results in a glucose spike. So it tells me what food led to a glucose spike. It makes me more intelligent. Now, the same potato I will eat and you will eat, the spikes will be different because our gut microbiome is different. So our gut's ability to absorb glucose and put it in the bloodstream is different. Hence, the spikes are different. So it gets me more closer to my gut. What foods are working for me, which is not causing. For me, rice causes a very big spike. Wheat does not cause that big a spike. Bajra causes a spike. Jowar doesn't cause a spike. Chana that you get in chola bhatura causes a spike. But the Kabuli lal chana that you get, that doesn't cause a spike. For me, yellow dal doesn't cause a spike. Black dal causes a spike. When I eat grape, it's like worse than sugar for me. When I eat apple, it is not.
Yeah.
So it is getting me lot more closer. Also, it keeps me a check. My daughter's down from Bangalore. I'm taking her out. She wants to go out tomorrow. I know it's going to be bad because she will take me to her favorite pizza place. I'm going to eat, but at least it will tell me how bad this was so that I can correct it later. Whenever it is very bad, I will walk for 30 minutes. It brings it down. It estimates my diabetic level on a daily basis by estimating my HbA1c. So for me, this data is a lot more inspirational. When I recommended it to a couple of friends of mine who were overweight and obese, and they put their fasting blood sugar was close to about 180, which means they're not diabetic. If there was something above diabetic, they were there. And it just, they shed bricks. They were in a very bad mental state. Then I don't want it. Go and get your blood test. I measure my sleep like a hawk. It tells me the quality of my sleep. For me, nothing comes before sleep. So I have a Whoop, I measure my sleep. I measure my heart rate. I measure my resting heart rate. I work to bring my resting heart rate down. I work to bring my heart rate variability high. So all these gadgets are there. My only principle in gadgets are two. One, before you use it, please ask yourself why are you using it? Your why should be very clear. Within that is this whole principle, right? Because all behavior is belief driven. If you are not believing in it, don't even put it. If you're putting it for fancy reason, okay, put it and then leave it. But if you're putting it for health reason, your why needs to be very, 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 very strong. Number two, quality matters. Today, even a watch can tell you your blood glucose. That watch comes for 2000 rupees. This comes for 5000 rupees for 14 days. But when I'm getting data, I want the best quality of data.
Yeah.
So these are the two things, principles I will tell people. Europe has just come up with a continuous blood pressure monitor. When I go to London, I'm planning to buy that. Because for me, that is also one of the most underrated metric in mankind.
Mm.
The worst part is even when you go to clinic, the doctors don't know how to measure. They measure it all wrong. They are telling you some normal. It is not normal. You need to measure your blood pressure at least thrice, sitting for 5 minutes before you take the measurement. Your arm should be perpendicular to your heart. So, yes, that is one more thing I'm planning to invest in. But besides this, I don't have any other gadgets.
Okay. Uh, Another question around the same lines is in terms of measuring, are there any kind of test, for example, like understanding your genome, right? Have you tried any of them? What is your recommendation in India? Do you know anybody who's doing a good
The
job there?
only reason I have not tried is I spoke to a couple of scientists. I was in US for Longevity Summit on
Hmm.
the same subject. They say there is too much of data and 99% of the data is useless because we don't know what to do with them.
Hmm.
So it's a very fancy report that comes. As I said, for me, the why is very now. If, for example, I were to have a child now, I would have got a genetic testing done of my baby when she was in the womb. I would have, because that would have thrown up certain genetic mutation or defect which I could have corrected, or at least I would have known. But at 52, I can't do much about it.
Okay.
So from that perspective, there are tests, 23andMe. There are some guys in India who do it. There was recently some startup which had come in, Shark Tank, Decode Age, they all do it. I have no idea, one, of the quality of data, efficacy of data. Big question still comes with data hai karu kya uska?
Correct.
Even people who created this test 23andMe, they give you that data and they themselves don't know what to do with 99% of the data, which is stated on their website. So to that extent, it depends on why you are using it. I would encourage people who are getting pregnant or who are now, whose kid is still younger infant, probably makes sense to.
Yeah. And similar question about food allergy test. Like people are trying to figure out which foods is not going well with their gut. Uh, what is the efficacy of that test?
Uh, there is some efficacy, and
Okay.
if you can come to know of it, great. There are certain tests that Novak Djokovic recommends as well, but don't do this as an OTC test.
Hmm.
Go to your good gastroenterologist and then let him tell you which test.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
rather do this test in a hospital in a lab than over the counter.
That makes sense. Sure. Cool. So this was great. I think if somebody can patiently watch or listen to this podcast and just act like 20% off on the information that we have talked, I think they'll be really good. And I'm sure they'll be increasing a few years in their lifespan and health span for sure. So, yeah, I mean, advice is if you want, you can actually listen to the whole podcast at 1.2 or 1.5 speed, but do listen to it. There's a lot of good information around here. And thank you so much, Prashant, for giving me and my channel your time. It was probably one of the most, information packed episode I have I'm gonna air. So yeah, thank you so much for being a part of this and spending your Saturday with me here on the
No, no,
podcast.
my pleasure. My apologies that it went. We had budgeted for about an hour. It went for 2 hours because the subject is such,
It's
and
totally worth it. Totally worth it. And I don't know
it
about how
shows
many
that
people are
every
going to take away something from here. I am definitely taking back a lot of things, and I'm going to ask my family and my close friends to give it a watch and please listen to it very, very carefully.
pleasure all mine, Priyanka. Thank you for having me and giving me the platform to talk for as long as I wanted to talk. Really appreciate that.
Thank you so much, and hope we meet soon again. Soon, like we haven't met
Yes.
here. So
Bye.
yeah, but hope we meet soon. All right.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye.